Hello classmates and future CPAs. In this video, we will discuss the limitations on the power of taxation. Okay, di ba? Generally, power to tax is unlimited. But as an exception to the rule, hindi lahat ng power ay absolute. There has to be a limitation or hangganan para maiwasan ang pag-aabuso nito. Ang dalawang limitations ay ang inherent and constitutional limitations. Tapos na tayo sa inherent limitations. Ngayon, i-discuss naman natin ang constitutional limitations. Okay? Constitutional limitations are those limitations on the state exercise of the taxing power specifically provided by the provisions of the Philippine Constitution. Ano ang Philippine Constitution na present ngayon sa Pilipinas? Ito ay ang 1987 Philippine Constitution. Itong 1987 Philippine Constitution sets limitation on the exercise of the power to tax. Okay? Sino ang gumawa ng Philippine Constitution? Ang sagot ay ang Senate of the Philippines at ang House of Representatives. Okay? Ang Congress mismo ang gumawa ng Philippine Constitution. Okay? Dahil sila ang tinatawag na legislative department na inatasang mag-propose at gumawa ng batas na dapat mayroon ang isang bansa gaya ng Pilipinas. Okay? Nakasaad dito ang kapangyarihan ng gobyerno, the power, okay? And then, yung mga limitasyon sa kapangyarihan ng gobyerno. Okay? Limitations. Power and limitations. Okay? Sige. So, ang unang limitation natin, or the first constitutional limitation, is due process of law. Okay? Pag sinabi nating due process of law, tax laws shouldn't be harsh, or should not be harsh, or oppressive. Okay? Hindi siya harsh, or oppressive. Okay? There are two components of due process. Ang una ay ang substantive, which requires an intrinsic validity of the law in interfering the rights of a person to life, liberty, or property. Okay, pag sinabi nating substantive, it is like the passing, okay? Passing of the law. Okay? Kagaya ba nito? Passing? Hindi, kasi pang basketball yan. Passing of the ball yan, di ba? Hindi yan. Ito ba? Passing? Okay? Yan, tama yan. Kasi from one person to another, or from the Congress to the Senate, tinitignan ang validity ng law. Okay? Sa madaling salita, it refers to passing of the law pag sinabi nating substantive. Pag sinabi naman nating procedural, pinapakinggan muna nila before nila i-condemn ang isang law if valid or hindi. Okay? It is more of implementation. Okay? Pag sinabing procedural, it refers to implementation. Pag sinabing substantive, it refers to the passing of the law. Okay? Passing of the law. Next is equal protection of law. This means that it relates to how a particular tax measure or ordinance is being applied to persons or class of persons similarly situated. This means that taxes should be fair and equal, okay, to those persons with the same circumstances or similarly situated persons. Okay? For example, may dalawang accountant, si accountant A and si accountant B. Okay? May dalawang accountant sa Pilipinas na tinaksan ng magkaibang tax. Okay? Yung isa final tax, yung isa regular income tax. Okay? Pero considering all the facts, the sources of income, the citizenship, and the other factors related to taxation purposes, same sila or pareho sila. Okay? Ang tanong, tama ba na tinaksan ni BIR ang dalawang accountant ng magkaibang taxes? Yung isa final tax, yung isa regular income tax? Ang sagot ay mali. Okay? Mali ang ginawa ni BIR na taksan ng magkaibang klaseng tax, which is same naman sila ng circumstances. Okay? Dapat hindi ganito ang batas. Okay? Hindi dapat ganito ang batas. Hindi ito equal at hindi ito tama. Nilabag ni BIR ang equal protection of the law in this case. Okay? Next is uniformity rule. Okay? Uniformity rule or relative equality. Taxpayer under dissimilar circumstances should not be taxed the same. Kung magkaiba sila ng circumstances, dapat magkaiba din ang kanilang tax rates or taxation classification. Okay? For example, si Dr. Bean ay isang doktor, 'di ba? Sa Pilipinas. Ayon kay BIR, subject siya sa 5%. Okay? Creditable withholding tax. Okay? Sa kanyang income. And si Teacher Bean naman, si Teacher Bean ay subject siya sa creditable withholding tax na 10%. Okay? Sa kanyang income. Ang tanong, tama ba si BIR dito? Ang sagot ay tama. Tama si BIR dito dahil magkaiba ang propesyon ng dalawa. Okay? At marapat lamang napatawan sila ng magkaibang tax rate kasi malamang mas malaki ang kinikita ng isang doktor kaysa sa isang teacher, di ba? Therefore, tama si BIR na taksan ng magkaibang rates, okay? But be noted, a law may be passed even if it violates uniformity rule. Okay? A law may be passed even if it violates uniformity rule. Example dito, yung mga sin tax on cigarettes. Okay? Kung gusto ni government na patawan ng sin tax or excise tax yung mga sigarilyo, pwede. Patawan mo siya ng 12% na sin tax, pwede. And then, yung batas natin, meron siyang VAT na 12%, pwede din, di ba? This is an exception to the uniformity rule. Sige, next is the rule on progressive taxation. This is an application of ability to pay theory. Okay? Ano yung ability to pay theory? Ito na yan. Okay? Tax rate increases when the tax base increases. Let's illustrate to. Ibig sabihin lang nito, habang tumataas ang sahod or income ng isang tao, which is considered as the tax base. For example, dito, 100 lang yung kinikita ng isang worker, di ba? Kung tataas pa yan, mas tataas yung tax rate. Kung sa 100 ngayon, meron siyang 10%. Pag maging 200 na yan, pwede yang gawing 20%. Okay? The tax rate increases. The tax rate increases when the tax base increases. Okay? Ang tax rate daw ay tumataas habang tumataas ang tax base. Kita nyo to? From 100 naging 200. Kaya tumaas yung tax rate din niya. Okay? Sige. Next is non-imprisonment for non-payment of debt or poll tax. Okay? Debt refers to a civil obligation that is payable in money or kind, while poll tax, community tax, or basic community tax refers to a charge or imposition administered by the LGU or local government. Okay? Debt means civil obligation that is payable in money or kind. Kung sa madaling sabi, utang. Pag sinabi mong debt, utang. Pag sinabi mo namang poll tax or basic community tax, it refers to the imposition by the LGU where the taxpayer is located. Okay? 'Di ba madalas sabihin ng parents natin na, anak, mag-aral ka ng mabuti kasi baka makulong na kami ng daddy mo sa dami ng utang namin para ipaaral sa'yo. Ang statement na to ay hindi totoo. Okay? Kasi sa rule, walang makukulong kung hindi ka makabayad ng utang unless it constitutes estafa or evasion to pay your debt or utang. Kung nagtatago ka naman talaga na hindi ka makabayad ng utang pero may ipambabayad ka naman, ibang usapan na yon, 'di ba? As a general rule lang tayo na pag hindi ka na makabayad ng utang dahil wala ka nang ipapambayad, hindi ka makukulong. Basta in good faith ka naman, di ba? Kahit lubog ka na sa utang, yan, help, lubog ka na sa utang, never kang makukulong kung hindi ka makapagbayad nito. Okay? Provided in good faith ka. Meaning, wala ka na talagang ari-arian para ipambayad sa kanila. Okay? Same din sa poll tax or basic community tax. Okay? This is a kind of tax na binabayaran natin na nagpapatunay ito na tayo ay residente ng isang lokalidad or munisipyo or city. Okay? This is an evidence that we are a resident of a particular locality. Example, resident of Manila, resident of Cebu, resident of Mandaue, etc. Diba? Hindi ka makukulong kung hindi ka makapagbayad nito. Okay? Hindi ka talaga makukulong. Exemption na lang dito, yung additional community tax. Okay? Pag sinabi nating additional community tax, it constitutes tax evasion. Okay? Hindi yan sakop sa sinasabi nating non-imprisonment for non-payment of debt or poll tax. Okay? Next, non-impairment of obligation and contract. Okay? Taxing power cannot alter or revoke existing rights and obligation under a valid contract. Okay, when a taxpayer enjoys a contractual tax exemption, then it is protected by the non-impairment clause. Okay? Diniscuss na natin to dati na ang non-impairment clause of the Constitution simply means freedom of contract, di ba? Pag sinabing non-impairment, freedom of contract, okay? Hindi dapat makialam si BIR sa kontrata ng mga taxpayers, okay? At diniscuss din natin dati na ang taxation power ay inferior to the non-impairment clause of the obligation of contract. Okay? Ibig sabihin lang, nagagalangin ni BIR kung ano ang nakasaad sa kontrata. Hindi pwedeng alam si BIR or hindi pwedeng himasok si BIR sa kontrata ng mga taxpayer. For example, si A, binenta niya kay B ang kanyang sasakyan. Okay, sabi sa kontrata, ang dapat magbayad ng tax ay si B. Therefore, hindi dapat manghimasok si BIR sa kontrata nila at hindi pwedeng pilitin na si A ang magbabayad ng tax kasi nakasaad nga sa kontrata nila na si B na yung magbabayad ng tax in behalf of A. Okay? So, hindi pwedeng mamilit si BIR dito. Kasi, non-impairment of obligations and contracts. Okay? Hindi pwedeng makialam si BIR sa mga kontrata or obligations ni taxpayer. Okay? Next, free worship rule. Ano naman itong free worship rule? Religious institutions. Religious institutions are not subject to tax. Okay, this is a general rule. So, si Pope Francis or ang Roman Catholic, ang other religious institutions for Christians, and yung mga other religious institutions ay hindi pwedeng taksan ni BIR. Okay, sa madaling sabi, hindi pwedeng makialam si BIR sa mga religious organizations. Kasi si BIR takot yan kay Lord, 'di ba? Kung ikaw si BIR, tataksan mo ba ang Diyos? 'Di ba hindi? Therefore, as long as pasok sila sa criteria na pagiging isang religious institutions, they are not subject to tax. Okay? Ano yung dalawang criteria? Ang una ay organizational test at yung pangalawa is operational test. Pag sinabing organizational test, the institution is created for religious purposes dapat. Only. Okay? Solely for religious purposes. Okay? Habang yung operational test naman, they are operating for religious purposes dapat. Di lang dapat sa creation pinapakita nila na sila ay religious institutions, but on their operations, dapat for religious purposes pa rin. Okay? Kung pasok sila dito, then pasok sila dito, they are not subject to tax. Okay? Because they are considered a valid religious institution. Okay? Next, exemption from real property taxation on properties which are used for religious, charitable, and educational purposes. Tandaan nyo, religious, charitable, and educational purposes. The exemption provisions in the Constitution do not require any legislative action. Congress need not enact a law for the granting of exemptions. These exemptions are self-executory. Okay? Pareho ba ito sa free worship rule? Diniscuss natin kanina. Somehow, pareho. Pero, may pinagkaiba kasi. Kasama dito ang charitable and educational purposes. Okay? Tinutukoy dito ay real property taxation only. Hindi kasama yung income tax, hindi kasama yung VAT, OPT, and other taxation. Okay? Specific lang tayo sa real property taxation or RPT. Okay? Sabi ng Constitution, ito ay self-executory. Meaning, basta pasok lang sa A for actual, pasok lang sa actual, pasok lang sa directly, pasok lang sa exclusively, for religious, for charitable purposes, for educational purposes, exempt yan sa real property taxation. Okay? Note, real property taxation lamang po yung exemption. Okay? Sige. Next, no public money or property shall be appropriated for the use of religious purposes. Okay? It highlights the separation of the religion and state. Okay? Ang simbahan ay hiwalay sa estado. Hindi pwedeng makialam ang gobyerno at hindi rin pwedeng makialam ang simbahan sa pamumuno ng gobyerno dahil magiging sanhi ito ng gulo sa pagitan ng iba't ibang relihiyon. For example, Catholic lang yung pinapamuno mo dito sa Republika ng Pilipinas. Okay, paano na yung ibang religion? Paano yung Islam? Paano yung other religion? Okay, magiging sanhi ito ng gulo kaya hinighlight ito sa Constitution na separate ang religion or ang relihiyon sa estado ng isang bansa. Okay?